So we have in total the four different type of JDBC drivers. We have four different type of JDBC drivers, and we just call them as type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, or we say type 1, or I'll show you other slide in this PPT. There is I'm not sure whether this is readable, but I do have the same thing shared in a Google Docs. This PPT, I'll just I have I mean, for me, I'm interested with only these two things. So type 1 is called JDBC ODBC bridge driver. Okay. Type 2 is called native API Java driver. Type 3 is called net protocol Java driver. Type 4 is called native protocol Java driver. Okay. So, I mean, the names are a bit confusing. You need to remember the names, but I'll explain what they are. First thing is JDBC ODBC bridge driver. JDBC ODBC bridge driver means that ODBC is a standard protocol. ODBC is a standard protocol defined by consortium of all the databases. ODBC stands for Open Database Connectivity, meaning how a database should support others to connect to it. How the queries are actually like invoked and how they are executed, how the response is given, and all that. That standard is it defined the how databases should be doing it. So
Okay.
ODBC driver actually means that in your computer, say suppose in my computer, if there is a ODBC driver, in the sense ODBC drivers are here generally you will have system specific drivers. In the sense you will configure Microsoft settings somewhere you will have ODBC drivers related information. So what happens is and then from any programming you can connect. If say your language supports ODBC connectivity, then you can connect to the ODBC database using ODBC protocol. Now in Java, what happened is, now what we are talking about is JDBC. Now what if the database only supports if the database only supports ODBC. Now these guys wrote a JDBC ODBC bridge. Okay, this driver is about converting your Java JDBC calls into ODBC format and sending it to the database. So type 1 is JDBC ODBC driver, and here some conversion takes place, and performance wise this is the least preferred approach. But if I don't have any other way to do it, then you can always fall back onto JDBC ODBC bridge. Now type 2. Type 2 driver is native. It's called native. Native means you will have say if at least I use the way I used Oracle is that you will have some client software installed in your computer.
Okay.
Okay, you'll have some client software installed in your computer, and from your program, when I call something, that actually calls the client software that I installed locally. Okay, and that software in turn, I always the DB calls are routed through the client software installed in the computer. Okay, so if the calls, it looks like, from your Java code, it's a driver, you will have, a type 2 driver jar in your project class path. You call, JDBC. There is no difference. All the drivers, the way you write your JDBC code, there is no difference. The way how they work, there it matters. So, in this case, you have a client software installed, in case, you have Oracle, you have Oracle client software that you install, and you connect to the database, connect to that particular client software. So that is called type 2. It is called native protocol, partly Java, partly native. I mean, there's a name wise, we often get confused, or at least I get confused. It's called native API Java driver. Native API Java driver. Native API means the particular API between your database server and the from the place where I'm calling. Say if I'm calling a database, I mean some database that exists in some server, and from my mission, so the calls happen through native API. Means the client is there. Client is written by the database guys itself. They only distributed that or they sold that client software. So I installed the software. So the API from my mission to the database server is native. So that I don't know. I don't really know about it. But what I know is I know how to talk to the client here. So that is the reason it is called native API Java.
So, in order to communicate with the database, we need to install this software. That's it.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, other way I can say that, say suppose if I have the software installed and if I need to talk to the database, I can, pull the driver jar for that particular client software and use it.
Okay.
And the driver, the driver jar takes care of how to talk to the client software.
Okay.
We're talking about the client jar, right? We looked at the MySQL jar. So in
Yeah.
this case, if whatever jar we are going to use for the type 2 driver, that particular jar knows how to talk to the local software, the client software.
Okay.
Okay. And next one is a little bit of extension to the type 2. And let me say, what the net protocol Java driver, the names. Net protocol Java driver. Now, in this case, in the second type 2 driver, what we have is we have some client software installed in the local computer, right? Suppose if this is not the case, in the network, DB server is installed somewhere, okay, and then there are some proxy servers, some middleware server in between, okay,
Okay.
and I talk to that middleware server. I don't talk to the database directly, but I talk to some other guy in between who is lying in some different machine.
Okay.
Now that is nothing but type 3 driver. That is nothing but type 3 driver. So it's called middleware server where you have your database server, actual database server. In some cases, I guess maybe if you are using some mainframes related DB and DB2 or some system, maybe you have some complex system, very big system deployed somewhere. Okay, it may be lying in only one particular data center, and maybe you have your use cases executed across different countries, and maybe that you don't want everyone to talk to the database directly, rather you want someone in the middle to take care of the communication. So in that kind of situations you can use type 3 driver. I have never used the type 3 driver personally. What I used is remaining three. Okay, but yes, they do exist. Type 3 driver is about having some software in the middle, having some software, some middleware server which will work as a bridge between you and the database. It's similar to type 2, but in case of type 2, what you have is the software is installed locally. The client software is installed, the client software is installed locally in the same computer where you are executing JDBC. Now, in the third type driver, the type 3 driver, the software is installed somewhere in some other machine, and that is not specific to one individual client. Maybe the 10 different applications can use that particular server, the middleware server, to talk to the database. Okay, so that's about type 3 driver. Now, type 4 driver. See, other remaining drivers, there is always some kind of conversion from your JDBC to database connection, database. Now, how about having a pure JDBC driver? Meaning, when I write a call and I write a query, it directly talks to the database and no one else. Okay, no ODBC conversion, no client software invocation, no middleware interruption. Now, that is the really nice thing to have. If your database server is JDBC compliant, if your if that has, if that knows how to let the callers talk to the database in JDBC, okay, then that's actually type 4 driver. Now there is no conversion in between. So if you compare the performance wise, type 4 is the best option that we can have. If that is possible, if your database supports, JDBC, and then if that gives you a JDBC driver for type 4, then always prefer using JDBC type 4 driver.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay. So there is no conversion, and also the processing also will be very fast.
Exactly, exactly. And remember, you please try to remember these answers, okay? And I personally get confused between the names. In this type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 is easy. Maybe that's the best thing, that's the best way you can remember. But also, we need to remember the names. Say first one is first type 1 is nothing but JDBC ODBC driver. Second one is this also is called native API Java driver, or it's also called partly native partly Java.
Okay.
Partly native partly Java. Okay. And third one is it's a net protocol Java driver or net protocol Java driver. And fourth one is called native Java driver. Native Java driver means native protocol Java driver means DB itself supports the particular JDBC protocol. Now, you need to understand this logic, and maybe at least in the worst case you should be able to say type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 the names, and then explanation wise you should not have you should not get confused at all. Type 1 is, this is an interview question, important interview question. People may ask you how many different type of Java JDBC drivers you have and explain them. Okay. This one as well as statement, prepared statement, callable statement, what is the difference between a procedure and function, these things are very important JDBC related questions. And how do you,
Okay.
what is the difference between procedure and a function, okay? And how is that driver gets loaded? Driver, usually when I say driver manager that get connection, your driver manager will actually based on the connection string, it will talk to the is my Eclipse. I'll close this window. So you should be able to explain the this logic, driver manager at get connection, and then based on the connection string, it says JDBC MySQL, right? So based on this particular connection string, it will figure out which database we are talking to, and do I have any driver corresponding to it in the class path. If there is any driver, it will get you the particular connection. It will talk to the driver manager and driver, and you get the connection. Okay. And other thing is, we earlier looked at the DB queries, that there are DDL and a DML. DDL is a data definition language where you have created, drop, alter, relate, and some other statements will be there. And DML is how you data manipulation language. Okay. So insert queries, update queries, so they come under the DML. Okay. There will be few other type of these things as well. But you must be aware of what is the database, how many what is other things actually that maybe I did not cover. One is about from JDBC database perspective is something called normalization. Normalization is a important thing from interview perspective, where it is about I can send you a small handout that I have that you can refer to it, and I can answer queries if you have, and the normalization.